What's up, YouTube? It's your boy, Sly88 Fry here. What's this? What's this? Hey, where did Premiere go? Okay, well, anyways, before I thought I had Premiere left open, and I finished my Sonic movie review. We're gonna watch the video export and then watch as it uploads. Yeah, isn't that gonna be fun just to watch the process? No, I'm just kidding. I'm not done with the video yet. I'm making some good progress. I do believe if I can set enough time aside from my work and time with wife, I can actually get the video done before the end of the month, which is going to be awesome. False advertising, but there's a reason why I did that, because the category of this video of what I'm reacting to. Before we get there, I gotta show you something. Okay. My short, when I complained about some jackass actually... By the way, this is fucking delicious. Kiwi... What the hell is it called? Kiwi Starfruit from Starbucks. I'm not really a Starbucks guy. I don't go there very often, but it's so damn hot out. I wanted to grab a cold drink from there. Couldn't find any of my own drinks that I had in the car, so... Yeah, this thing's delicious. I fucking love it. Starbucks, you could sponsor me if you want. I swear I'll not swear if you do. Anyways. Oh my god, so good. Anyways, that short where I complained about that guy who parked his electric vehicle in a charging station space without plugging in his car, as those parking spaces aren't actually for your electric vehicles. They are for parking your electric vehicle and charging it. If you don't charge it there, you're actually breaking the rules. Anyways, last I checked, that short, it had maybe about like 90 views. It was approaching 100. Then I checked earlier today, it suddenly has almost 700 views. Like, where'd that come from? Did somebody did like a big name, like just spread word of it everywhere or something? Like, how'd that happen? That doesn't make sense, but I appreciate that. It's pretty awesome. Hopefully it helped me get some new subscribers too. Anyways, yeah, there it is. 661 views in 48 hours. That never happens with my channel. I mean, if it does, it's very rare. Appreciate that. Alright. Let's actually watch the actual video I'm supposed to be reacting to. Hence why I did the false advertising at the beginning about my Sonic review. It will be, I believe I can have it done at the end of the month. It's going to take time. I will try. But for now, let's watch the new Scott DeWaz video. It'll be a lot of fun. Oh, and I just saw a post on YouTube about Scott DeWaz talking to a kid from Make-A-Wish, granting him a wish to see his favorite YouTube celebrity. That's awesome. I've never actually, I mean, I've seen, you know, professional athletes on the Make-A-Wish thing, other celebrities. Dave Chappelle did one where it was actually a skit on his Chappelle show. It was really funny. But I've never seen one with a YouTube celebrity, so that's pretty cool. I think it's really cool that Scott DeWaz actually went ahead and did that. Anyways, I've been talking long enough. Let's get started with the video.
Hey y'all, Scott here. Please, for the love of God, don't mind me. I'm just doing some touch-ups to my high school
Why am I
yearbook
watching you then?
You think they'd let me do retakes 9 years later? There's gotta
What's
be
the
a
point?
grace period. I've been having trouble going
9
to sleep
years
thinking
later?
about what people thought of me back then, so hopefully this will change their minds. Okay, and we're done. Actually,
You wish.
done. I didn't want to get too late. Telling the truth. What are you, a bitch? Well, be honest about how your video game looks when you can just lie and deal with it when it's already bought.
Yeah.
False advertising is how many companies roll. We've all seen those fast food comparison shots. This is what's advertised, and this is what I got. What the hell? Well, it's time for marketing. Use something that represents the final product, but use some color correction, adjust the lighting, tweak a few angles here and there. Boom, good enough for air. And when it comes to video games, they are no stranger to catfishing.
What's that guy's name? I don't know if he's popular now or not. James something. It's not James Farr. It's a different James. He when I first discovered him, He did the Ryan George conspiracy, where he found a conspiracy where apparently Ryan George is actually more than one person. It's not, you know, Ryan George playing the same person on different camera angles. But it was really hilarious, and I continued watching more of his videos, and he talked about the Nuggalo. There's a group of fans called Juggalos that are the fans of I forget what band. It's some kind of rock band that dress up in clown makeup, and he did one talking about the Nuggalos conspiracy, where there's a bunch of people dressed up as clowns, where he talked about a bunch of people dressed up as clowns. They were actually handing out chicken nuggets. That was when that weird thing happened a few years ago, when people were dressing up as clowns for Halloween and freaking people out. But yeah, anyways, I just when he mentioned that stupid thing with the garbage and it became the thing on the game, it made me think of that Ryan George conspiracy theory he came up with, where he kept zooming in, you saw nothing wrong, and then suddenly out of nowhere, a reflection of Ryan George is on the other Ryan George's glasses. Like, no, no, you added that in there clearly, like what Scott the Watch just did. Let's continue.
Why show actual gameplay in your ad when you can show something that's neither a game nor being played?
Hey,
it's
good
way
point.
easier to disappoint players than to entice them with the truth. No matter what,
Yeah,
false
true.
advertising is always going to stick with gaming. It's been there since the very start, and
Sticks
it'll be there till the
with
very end.
lots
in 4
of
months.
things.
Advertisers know they
4
could
months.
just show you what the actual game is going to be like, or they could visualize what it will feel like.
Garbage.
Sometimes advertisements don't necessarily lie, but with the way they're set up, you come in with certain expectations. With
That's
the Mario
true.
Galaxy commercials and box art, I thought you could fly through space just like this to each of the galaxies. Instead, they just play a cutscene of Mario flying, and when you would fly in game, it would mostly just be an automated thing going from one place
Yeah,
to
you're
another.
being
You didn't
launched
get a
from the
power
stars.
plate in the game.
I don't know if I know it's a joke, but can you call that false advertising though? I mean, that does happen in the game. He's being launched just like that.
The red star, and that let you freely fly for a decent amount of time, but it was only in one level.
You know, I wish that was one of his alts in Smash Bros. I've always thought, ever since I've seen this should be one of Mario's alts. They could have done it in Brawl, because Brawl came out a year after Super Mario Galaxy 1, but he didn't have the black and red as an alt in that game, nor in Smash for Wii U and 3DS, and not in Smash Ultimate. Like, what the hell?
And the hub world. I wanted to cream through space to all these levels like how this looked. And Super Mario Galaxy just ended up being my favorite game of all time. I'll take the single tier. This is kind of the mentality of a lot of old school box art. Box art in general is supposed to be an artistic
Mel
representation
Gibson.
of the game you're buying. Of course, it shouldn't lie, but if you're waiting for an exact moment in the game to look just like the box art,
No.
oh, that's a toughie. I don't think this ever happened in Title Legends. Obviously,
Probably
these
not.
take and hyperbolize the best and most defining moments of the game to make for a great and appealing piece of art that also isn't misleading, which is a different...
Let's at least be thankful that misleading box art is not like it was back in the 80s and 90s. Like, oh my God, some of them were just so stupid. Of course, there's the famous phalanx on the Super Nintendo, where you see some guy holding a banjo, but it turns out what the game is actually a space shooter. You're supposed to see that tiny little spaceship in the background way behind him. That's your character. Like, what the fuck? Why is there this guy with a banjo on the cover? It makes no sense.
Cool thing to balance. Atari thought we were idiots. This isn't misleading because under the right mindset, the game will make you feel like this.
I'm eating soap.
You thought we were past this level of deception? Oh, no. See, many have noticed how box art has become more in line with what we expect out of our games these days, but the angst behind the Atari box art lives on in the form of trailers. We could show the product
Okay.
and get people excited, or we could not show the product and get people excited and pissed eventually. Hey, sometimes you just have to show something. And if that something isn't enough, America's biggest fear becomes a reality. The gamers will revolt. So it's obviously enticing to make your game look as appealing as possible in your big reveal trailer. It's okay to
Yeah.
use a few scenes not actually in the game. Maybe put some CGI there for the sake of cinema. Maybe put that in. It's not in the game, but we can make it happen in the game, right? This is how legends are born. Dead Island is one of my go-to picks for deceiving trailers, and it's one of the best ones of all time. This incredible, emotional, 3-minute long cinematic masterpiece showing a family being attacked and losing their lives to a zombie outbreak, all played in reverse. There's so much you can analyze with this trailer. It put Dead Island on the map for so many players. This trailer was the first time I had even heard of the game. It really set the title up to be a gripping, emotional story of a zombie apocalypse and the emotional turmoil that ensues because of it. Here's the first thing you see putting the disc in.
Shrunken heads, broken legs, body parts on the concrete.
Not saying Dead Island is a bad game at all, but the trailer and the game are two completely different beasts. The tone of the game is still fairly serious, but not as serious or emotionally gripping as the trailer would lead you to believe. These characters have nothing to do with the game.
This just suddenly came to my mind, but you guys are aware of the movie The Iron Giant? Most people are now, but back when it first came out, it actually bombed in the box office, and I think it had to do with the trailers. The trailers made it seem like a childish and happy film, but it was a lot more serious and grown up, actually. I remember I saw it in theaters and I was like, wow, it's actually really good. But yeah, it bombed in the box office, but now thanks to the internet, it's made this revival, and everybody knows, most people know about the Iron Giant now. I mean, so much that that Iron Giant was in that Ready Player One movie, alongside, with Chucky, who's considerably much more well known. So yeah, it's pretty amazing. But yeah, the trailer made me not interested in the movie. But when I heard reviews of the movie at the time, because my mom really paid a lot of attention to like newspaper reviews, and I found out how good. I found that out. I actually gave it a chance, and it was really good. It was really good. I mean, nowadays I don't really even listen to critics anymore because so many of them are have like just wrong opinions. But yeah, it was really good.
Rather than showing remnants of the outbreak as it first occurred on the island, the developer Techland even went into the game after the trailer came out to try to adjust the tone as much as possible to be more in line with it. But these still feel like two different things. It just shows how powerful marketing can be, making you want something you had no prior interest in. But this was a case of false advertising just because we let somebody talented make our trailer. Oops.
That's a good point.
Sometimes false advertising is very much deliberate as it sets you up for a massive shock while playing the game. Metal Gear Solid 2 is a prime example, as you think you'll just play as Snake the whole game. Nah, you're playing the rest of the game as this new character, Raiden. Final Fantasy VII Remake. Well, with the title literally involving the word remake, it sets you up to expect the story to basically follow the same steps as the original. Also, the entirety of the original. In reality, this was a fucking lie. The Last of Us Part 2, on top of pulling the same Metal...
Well, if that's the case, I have respect for Square Enix for actually making it not just be a remake. See, I was actually watching a little bit of a StarCraft Brood War stream yesterday. A little bit of it. I had to go back to work quickly, but I am still disappointed that StarCraft Remastered really is just a graphical update of StarCraft with a ladder system online. They didn't actually make the AI better. They didn't actually improve the controls. And you can't claim that they allow you to do custom hotkeys because before they released StarCraft Remastered, on the original StarCraft, like about a year before the release of Remastered, they were allowing you to make custom hotkeys on the original StarCraft anyway. So you can't even claim that that's anything new in the remaster either. But still, I mean... I guess it is pretty cool that they re-released it. I just wish they would have actually made it so the AI was better, so your Dragoons aren't just running around like idiots all the time. And your, siege tanks would be better at going up and down ramps and stuff like that. And it would be better when you try to cast, spells or techniques on enemies. It would do one at a time instead of all at once. Instead of making you have to select each individual one to do the spell by itself. Irritating. Anyways, moving on. I do appreciate that Square Enix made it not exactly just a remake.
Your solid joke of, you thought you were playing as this character? Laugh. They also altered certain cutscenes for its trailers to make the character Joel look older in them, so that way, with viewers knowing he's aged, they were led to believe he was in more of the game than he really was, when in reality, they altered flashback scenes, made him look older, and put them in the trailer. See, I don't really consider that to be false advertising, at least in the more negative sense. Rather, it's leading players in another direction, or just not showing things to avoid spoilers. So it's just being an ass. But then we have just the flat-out lies. Some of the most despicable, loathsome moments in the video game industry.
Okay, what's
the
going on?
Simpsons game. This game had the audacity to say in its E3 2007 trailer it was releasing on every platform ever made.
What?
Fall to every platform. ever made.
That must have been a
Even
joke.
the PSP? See, most people would assume that's a joke, but you forget to take
That
into
must have been a
consideration
joke.
most people. Some people genuinely thought this game was coming to all these platforms.
Why?
We had to re-release the trailer. The voiceover was the same, but the platforms showcased were...
The ones that were out
I
at
said
the
it was
time,
ridiculous
okay.
for anybody to assume the original trailer wasn't a joke. I think some of the platform choices were incredibly misleading. The Game
Yeah.
Boy Advance and GameCube were still being supported at this time, so out of all platforms
DS
put
was
there
out,
as
though.
a joke, those are really odd choices considering I don't think it was too far-fetched to expect a Game Boy Advance or GameCube version in 2007. Or the VIC-20. The box itself can be pretty deceitful sometimes.
Pretty sure
Legend of
Nintendo
Zelda Breath
quickly
of the
moved on
Wild
to
on
DS.
Wii U says it supports the Wii Remote and Nunchuck and Classic Controller and lying. This was just a misprint, but there was speculation in the early days of Breath of the Wild's development that it would allow players to use motion controls like with Skyward Sword on the Wii. Now, supporting one Wii Remote by itself, I think only the bravest speculated that. Doom on Sega Saturn says on the box that it's the original Doom in all of its glory when it's missing content. But then we have the flat-out disappointments, where you watch a Fruit Gushers commercial as a kid, and in those, whenever somebody ate one, their entire head would turn into a giant fruit, so you never ate one for years out of fear, and one day you decided life is hell anyways.
Oh, I live.
Son of a bitch. Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. Oh, this collector's edition comes with stones.
I swear
Ooh,
to God,
Infinity
they're
Stones.
just eggs.
I can. These have all been somewhat tolerable lies, though. I mean, if she's cheating on you, at least she's only doing it a little. Aliens Colonial Marines was such a massive cluster of garbage. Like, what the hell happened here? Gameplay demos shown were severely different from the final product, making the game look so much more sophisticated with good lighting, AI, animations, a severe attention to detail. But upon release, we only have a few options here. See, this was a massive downgrade, some areas of the game more so than others. But in the end, this was pure deceptive marketing. At E3 2012, the game was running on very specific work machines. This wasn't going to work on the consoles at the time, but they made it still not work. While it's not unplayable, Colonial Marines was a huge disappointment and showcases how companies will pretty up a game for major gameplay demos to end up releasing something not nearly as groundbreaking. It's crazy how far these studios will go to mask a title's true identity, which, to be fair, I'm sure they wanted Aliens to end up looking like this. The intention definitely wasn't to
probably
win
did,
everybody
yeah.
over at E3 and then release shit. These gameplay demos are supposed to represent what they want the game to be, and if it actually turns out that way, well, let's pray God's a fan. I mean, this demo looks like a fine-tuned PS4 Xbox One game, not a 360 title. But even then, the graphical downgrade isn't merely due to the consoles. It affected the PC version as well, and overall, everything was just of lower quality. It tricked millions into buying the game, thinking it would be this, when in reality, it was nothing but a shell of that. Watch Dogs suffered a similar, though not a severe fate, where it too looked light years better via the gameplay demo than in its final state. This was definitely because it was revealed quite early in the project's life. They didn't have to take hardware limitations into account nearly as much at this time compared to when you're finalizing everything about the game. And when it got to that point, I mean, the game still looks fine, but that E3 gameplay demo was beyond impressive. Watch Dogs at release was a somewhat buggy, generic, modern Ubisoft game, and not much more than that. No Man's Sky was a huge letdown for many, with the promise of basically having an infinite amount of worlds to travel to in space. Of course, the ones they decided to showcase at E3 were the only ones of note. The game was supposed to feature procedurally generated worlds, and when you would land on one, it was truly you discovering it. But in reality, the game launched as a boring experience where there was nothing to do, and the worlds weren't impressive. They didn't look as graphically decent as they did during the
sucks.
marketing push.
Man,
They all
that
just felt like
sucks.
variations of each other, nothing of note. Now, Watch Dogs wasn't the biggest downgrade. It was still a decent game, and No Man's Sky got a ton of updates, and at this point, it's pretty okay and does a better job living up to what was initially promised. Aliens was one of the worst cases of this, deliberately making a better-looking gameplay demo before release, and gameplay demos are supposed to be more trustworthy than trailers. That's the point of them.
That's
The trailers
pretty
use
messed up,
CG
yeah.
cutscenes and cuts between them in gameplay all the time. The gameplay demo is supposed to show you what you're gonna get, because trailers can be incredibly misleading.
Yeah,
The
that's
Killzone
true.
2 trailer infamously was all CGI, even though it was animated in a way to make the viewers think it was all gameplay. See, this was right before the PlayStation 3 was coming out, and that was a time when we thought anything was possible on these consoles.
Okay.
If anybody could resurrect Christ, it would be the PS3. And many assumed they were lying. This was gameplay. Now, Killzone 2 still looked quite good when it released, but the people who made this trailer, they're still going to hell. Tiger Woods PGA Tour 2009 on Wii. The commercial
Okay.
used Xbox 360 footage of the game with a Wii Remote pointer. How did they think that would fly? EA explained the Wii footage wouldn't look good on a TV, so they used the HD footage from the 360 version and put the Wii Remote pointer in there, and bam, that's a sin. But one game decided to do something innovative.
there's multiple problems with that besides just the graphics, but if the Tiger Woods 09 on the Wii, you have to play with the Wii motion controls. It's also deceiving in the control faction as well, because if you're showing the 360 footage, clearly you're playing with the 360 controller. And obviously playing with that compared to playing with the Wii remote motion controls is completely different. So it's not only deceitful in the look, but even in the experience of the play. I mean, maybe they found a way to edit it in a way that you couldn't really tell the difference, but I still think that's pretty messed up.
Biggest example of false advertising of all time. Yeah, I'm not really saying anything that hasn't already been said here.
Smallpox. They fucking stink.
But when talking about false advertising in gaming, we can't avoid the piss stain on my Xbox collection. Cyberpunk 2077 was developed by CD Projekt Red, a developer highly regarded for their work on the Witcher series and their commitment to consumer-friendly practices.
Cool.
I mean, The Witcher 3 was a huge hit, but even before that release, they announced they'd be working on a game based on the Cyberpunk series of tabletop RPGs. This was in 1964. Announced in 2012, then getting its first trailer in 2013, and then its next trailer 5 years later. In reality, the game was nowhere near starting full-on development, and it took until The Witcher 3's final expansion release in 2016 for the team to actually start work, and when this gameplay demo was fully revealed in 2018, jaws were dropped. This was such a detailed world with people walking around who have legitimate lives to live. If you would follow just one around, you would see them go about their day, go to their job, go home, and every single decision of yours would come back to bite you in the ass. And this is all without saying, the game looked stunning. Just absolutely beautiful models and settings. The animations were amazing. It looked like the most advanced video game of all time. And guess what? After being delayed numerous times, Cyberpunk launched in a state that, well, the main issues stem from the console versions. The PC version looked, ran, and worked the best, but it's still a far cry from that initial gameplay reveal. Most of the issues boiled down to how glitchy and unpolished the game could be at times, but at its core, I'll stand by the fact it's a good game. The world is really what sells it. It's so detailed and feels like a genuine lived-in place, and being in a dystopian future, it's truly a world worth exploring and looking at every little minute thing. But everything around it just doesn't feel all too special. The gameplay isn't anything groundbreaking. It's a first-person open-world RPG involving shooting and driving segments, and none of this is bad, but it just isn't anything I haven't seen before. Anything that they talked about in the gameplay demo, like how advanced the non-playable characters are, you just see them walking in a circle, going up to them and hitting the talk button, and they say one of like 3 repeated phrases to you. The same goes for the characters more integral to the story, though.
I think the issue with this game is that they're biting off more than they can chew. They wanted to do every detail, do everything they can to make it as close to real life as possible, and that's hard. That's hard. You'd have to be programming literally every single individual, and that's a lot of code. And not only is that a lot of code to program, it also takes up more memory to have that much code to program. So it's they tried too hard. They shouldn't have gone that far. They really shouldn't have. There was no point of trying to actually innovate so much to make it resemble real life so much by having everybody be an individual. It's a video game through and through. All the characters are, a simulation. You can't program all of them in unique ways without having problems. They really wanted to make the best they could make, and I commend them for that, but that automatically leads to problems, unfortunately.
Repeat some voice lines, which is fine, that's understandable, but this isn't the genre-defining game they made it out to be. It's a brilliantly designed world inside a game that feels like it's from 2013. Glitches were abundant, and we're just talking about the PC version here. On Xbox One and PlayStation 4, not only were glitches even more all over the place, but the game ran like piss, and
I
that
bet.
doesn't run well. Choppy frame rates, low resolution, the game would freeze and crash constantly, and this was the product of a giant marketing campaign pushed by investors and higher-ups who didn't understand how game development worked. They wanted a
Obviously.
2020 release date, which by the time CD Projekt Red started development would have given them less time to finish than The Witcher 3. And this project was so much more advanced with elements they've never worked with before. It just felt like a lot of choices they made didn't add up. Like, why do we have all this customization for our character, but the game is almost exclusively played in the first person and you barely ever see your character? Why push all this money into marketing and showing a demo of a game that frankly didn't exist yet? Much like other examples given, this demo was basically what the developers were told to shoot for, and not what the game was, and no matter how much the developers said they needed more time or this wasn't possible, the marketing pushed Cyberpunk that much more. Did they really have to announce, hey, the game is finished, when the developer said, bullshit,
Hey, it's Keanu
it
Reeves.
is? Cyberpunk 2077 is a good game. It may not be for everybody, but to act like at its core this isn't a well-crafted experience, I think is a bit much. But you can't blame people for thinking that after such a disastrous launch and being lied to constantly. This
Yeah.
was a case of a developer who was known for their goodwill and how players adored them, and higher-ups taking advantage of that. It's crazy to me how
hate
much
that.
these companies feel the need to lie when they know that it'll just come back to bite them in the ass. They take first
Yeah.
impressions more seriously than launch impressions sometimes, but is it really worth all the headaches? To go through lawsuits and
I'd say
refunds
most
and
of
to
the time,
lose
no.
consumer trust, all to impress people at E3 with something you know damn well can't be accomplished? Well, for some people it is. That's why
Apparently.
lying is so popular. Fix a problem now, deal with the repercussions later, instead of telling the truth and causing some potential disappointment, but then you don't have to deal with bigger problems a year from now. It's just
Yeah,
sometimes
idiots.
marketing takes over projects, and a lot of marketers don't care. Their
Yeah,
job is to get
exactly.
people interested, and even if it turns out to be over lies, well, that's more publicity for the project. I guarantee you, more people have talked about Cyberpunk and Aliens Colonial Marines and No Man's Sky because they were disasters compared to if they were as good as they were made out to be. And
True.
if regardless of if discussion is positive or negative, it's still getting the name out there, which means false advertising for games will never go away. Game studios are constantly
sad.
pressured into pushing boundaries, and I feel like they look at what they're currently capable of, no matter how advanced, and think it's not good enough. So they pretty things up for reveals and just assume they'll get it working later. But as we can see, that's not the greatest risk to take. I think
No,
the
it's
lesson
not.
to be learned here is it's okay to be excited. It's also okay to be skeptical. But maybe wait to make a full decision until something's out in the world and actual people are playing the game rather than snake people. Because
Exactly.
liars are everywhere. They might even be staring you in the face.
They sure are.
And this was when I lost credibility.
Oh, shit. Alright, that was a blast to watch. Really love this Scott the Woz episode. False advertising, it seems to be a bit too common. You know what? Actually, I did finish my Sonic movie review. I'm going to have it uploaded 10 minutes from now. 10 minutes from when I upload this video comes my Sonic movie review. Nah, once again, false advertising. Just joking. It's going to come, though. I'll make sure it's done by the end of the week. Well, not the end of the week. Oh, yeah, by the end of the week. Oh, hell yeah. No, by the end of the month. Stay tuned, though. I'm going to be doing some live streams this week. I hope to do some tomorrow while at home, but if not, on Wednesday I'll be visiting my friend John, who was living in Florida for a couple years, but came back here to California a month or two ago, and is now about an hour southeast of me down in Richmond. Not Richmond, Virginia. Richmond, California. It's right by Oakland and Berkeley. It's in the East Bay. I'm up in the North Bay, up in Sonoma County, wine country. But anyway, yeah, so stay tuned. That is not false advertising. We do plan to do a live stream of Super Mario Maker 2 together. It'll be a lot of fun. Yeah, this was awesome. Scott the Woz, once again, he's amazing. He proves amazing points. He's really funny. And this episode, I have no complaints. Last week's episode, I wasn't as into, I'll admit. But this time, I have no complaints. It was awesome. I really enjoyed it. How do you feel about so many companies with their false advertising? It's obviously the most common with video games, it seems, but it does happen in other industries too, no doubt about it. But do you wish it would stop, or do you like seeing the best looking thing on the trailer anyway? I personally believe they should try harder to make what the graphics look like on the trailer and the gameplay demo actually look like they do in the game. That would be better. And because it also used to be that the cutscenes of a game, when you're actually playing it, the cutscenes always looked better than the gameplay. Nowadays, I've noticed that it's more common for cutscenes to still have mostly the in-game graphics, which I appreciate a lot. I mean, it kind of takes you out of the flow a little bit when it looks completely different than it should. Anyways, thank you so much for watching this with me. Please like, comment, subscribe, click that bell icon to have any notifications. I do have a Scott the Woz React playlist. I actually appreciate that the videos he's been uploading are not as long, so it's easier for me to make reacts to them. Check out that playlist of Scott the Woz React videos among my other videos. And I'm not just doing React videos. It is true that I am making a Sonic movie review, and I'm working hard to make it be very well edited and look as professional as possible. I'm hoping that it would help. I'm hoping that people will tune into it, because I'm actually trying to make a really good looking video instead of just doing React videos with no editing. Anyways, stay tuned for that. That said, thank you so much for watching.